I mean, you talk about it a lot. Just going from college to straight into combine training. You got the all-star games. You got draft prep. The whole deal. So going into this is so much better just because I got all that under my belt now. Just I got a year of experience. Played a ton last year. Played a ton of football. Got to experience a lot of unique things out on the field. So now, going into year 2, I was able to really, turn my focus. Yeah, there was a little rehab in between with my knee, but a lot of my focus could be back to, real football again instead of, the underwear Olympics at the combine and all of that can be. So, it's cool. I feel great, mentally going into it. You got a little time off. Last year at this time, me and my girlfriend were looking for a house to live in, in L.A. So, we're all settled in. Feel good going into camp. We got a great group of guys here, so I'm just excited to get rolling.
Outside of the rehab, what were your areas of focus like for improvement this season?
Just improving on my body. I think just in total, changing up my diet. I worked with a dietitian and everything to get my body comp down, get my weight back up to where I want to be to play the position that I do, and where I feel comfortable. Most dominant at this weight, and that was the biggest thing, really, just taking care of my body. I think it was easy last year to get kind of lost and just all that's going on as you lose, the amount of focus that needs to go into your body to be ready for an NFL season and be able to attack it the way I wanted to. And then, there's things on the field that we're working on, but, that's practice. It's just getting better. But, we'll take care of that as camp goes on, as the season rolls.
What do you expect to play at?
Right now I'm about 292, 293. That's where I feel the best at. Last year I kind of floated under 290, which, was fine, but I feel a lot better when I'm a little bit heavier, and I ain't getting moved around too much, so it feels a lot better at that weight.
Speed training has changed so much over the last 10 years or so.
Right.
How do you keep the speed while bulking at the same time? Or is there anything new that you experienced that really stuck with you?
Nothing too crazy. I was fortunate as a kid. I've been, since I was about 12 years old, I had a trainer back home. Shout out Eric Griffin. Hopefully he sees that. I've been working with him since I was a youngin'. So, working on the speed. So that's something I've always been progressing on. And, it hasn't been too much of a shift as I've gained weight. And because, I played high school football. I was probably about, between 230, 250. And I made that quick jump up to 3 bills. So at one point, at least, not no more. But so, it's not too bad.
You guys, as a defensive front, a pass rush collectively, how different is this training camp now that you kind of have an understanding of how to rush off of one another and things like that, and how's that influencing the way you're attacking this summer?
I think it's huge. I think, last year there was a lot of, between the, our rush group, kind of tiptoeing around, trying to feel our way through it of just, who's going to be this, who's going to be that, who's going to be the guy. And I think we've kind of, molded into, our identity and just who we're going to be. And, coming off last year, we finished pretty strong. And I think just growing on top of that is, going to be huge going forward. And I love the group that we have. And we have a lot of fun. Aside from just the way we play the game, just off the field, just, enjoying being in each other's presence is, hard to come by. And, it's a lot of fun being with this group.
What excites you about working with Puna Point so far?
It's been great. No, that guy's awesome. He works hard, and he's his film speaks for itself. He's dominant in the run game, and he's got some juice in the pass game. I think that's something that people don't see a lot of. He's twitchy and he gets moving in the pass, and I'm excited to add him to this front. I think he could be a key piece and maybe even the missing piece that we needed, and I'm just excited to see him going forward through training camp and working with him.
How would you describe that identity that you talked about as a front now that you guys have Puna and have worked together for another year?
For one, we're young, and two, we're relentless. We get after it. I think we're just hungry. You got a lot of guys that are, hungry to take that next step in their career and just, get after it. And, as a whole, as a team, as a defense, we just appreciate being able to go out there together because, these things don't come off when you have a group like we have. I'm just excited to get after it with these guys, and, we got a really, really solid group.
Do you communicate with your teammates in the offseason?
Yeah, just last week we were working. We had a bunch of D linemen out there working with our D line trainer and getting after it. So yeah, we talk quite a bit. Just whether it's quick text on social media or I'm sending something stupid as Jared or BY, which happens pretty frequently. But yeah, we communicate a lot.
Some teams organize their locker room by position. Rams do it differently. What did you learn last year as a rookie, being where you were in the locker room and who you were surrounded by?
That's a good, I like it because I think about that too, of just how lucky I was to be in that part of the locker room. We call that the suburbs over there. But, having the opportunity to be by Big Rob, when Cooper Kupp was over there, Matthews over there, Puka's in our area, Tyler Higbee. Just to have that veteran presence, to be able to talk to those guys whenever I need to. K-Dot's right next to me too. Just, having those guys that have been in the league for a while, to see how they go about their day-to-day. And, Cooper was a big one last year I would talk to. Just, how did he make that jump in year 2 of his career? What was, something that elevated his game. And a a lot of that was the diet. That's a lot of what I implemented into my off season, and yeah, but super fortunate to have those guys in my area, the locker room for sure.
Why
Couple
is it
more
called the
guys.
Suburbs?
What was that?
Why was it called the suburbs?
We got a good group of vets over there. They've done their time. They're living life, lavish.
There's a few roster changes, but largely this is the same group that won a bunch of games, won the division, and made 2 playoff games. Coming into a new year with a lot of the same guys, that continuity. What do you think the goal should be for this team? What's the objective?
I think to start from where we ended. Just how we were as a team. How close we were as a group, and just be able to attack every day and just get better. I think the ultimate goal should be to get better because I think we have such a good group of young guys, a mix of vets that we got a real good opportunity here, and I just want to be able to take advantage of every step of the way. Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Your off-season, Rob?
Oh, it's good. It's good. It seems to get shorter and shorter every year, though. So I think we started at six weeks when I was a young guy, and now it's 4. But now it's good. It was definitely some good time spent with the family, recharge, and get ready for what we got going on.
How are your shoulders doing?
Good. Feel good. Strong, healthy. Kind of hit my benchmark for what I wanted to do for upper body strength. Feel ready to go play football. I've never been the world's biggest bencher anyway, so we'll save that for the other guys, and I just kind of go out and play football. So, but feeling pretty good.
Will you be able to go starting tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'm here and ready to play some football.
Rob, have you been following the stuff with the NFLPA and the Players Union? A lot of people over there right now. Have you been following it, and kind of what's your reaction to all of it?
I've been kind of keeping some tabs. Obviously, you get the text messages and whatnot. Obviously being in the union, and been following. Haven't really talked to most of the guys or anyone kind of higher up in the union or anything like that. So I'm sure that'll be a point of conversation here during lunch at some point. But I've been following. Honestly, I don't know enough to form an educated opinion right now. So we'll kind of get the gist of what's going on. I'm sure we'll have some conversations when the union comes around camp and everything like that to probably address something. So we'll see what's going on.
Have you had an opportunity to talk with DJ Humphries and kind of get to know him and how he might fit in?
Not personally, no. I know it kind of happened right after right before we broke for summer break and everything. So, I'm pretty, as you get older and the kids get older, it's summer breaks pretty well scheduled out. So it's been pretty busy going back and forth and kind of doing everything with the family that we wanted to get in with those 4 weeks. But haven't talked to him personally. Obviously, we're the same draft class, so I've seen his work from afar. He's great player. Excited to have him on and get to know him in the coming weeks.
What does it mean for the team to have a guy like Kyren here reported ready for camp, even in the midst of contract talks?
Yeah, I think that just shows the absolute professionalism of a Kyren Williams. There's one thing about Kyren, he loves playing ball, and I think the way the fiery nature you see, the enthusiasm that you see from Kyren, that's just who he is as a person, and there's no faking that, and that's what you love about Kyren. And honestly, the way he goes about his business, it's you kind of forget that there's even contract negotiations just because he's been the same guy from day one since he's walked in. But for him to be here, reported, ready to go, which I'm sure he is. He's been seeing his videos online. He's got a new haircut. He looks good. Excited to see him.
What's it like having Coleman Shelton back there?
Oh, it's great. I love a Coleman Shelton. He's he's played a lot of years, and he's been a couple different positions, and obviously been a couple different teams. And I think just the experience that he brings, and just the leadership and the calmness, and the way he goes about his work. He's really intentional about what he does. And so it's obviously great to have him in the building, and personally he's one of my good friends, so it's obviously great to have him back.
Rob, what was some of the benchmarks you wanted to reach all season in regards to your training?
Just some numbers on weightlifting. I don't need to get specific because, like I said, I'm not the biggest bencher, so it's not going to wow anyone anyway. So, but things have been feeling pretty good. There's going to be some soreness here and there, but that's just football, and after playing it for a decade in the NFL, it's just going to kind of is what it is type thing. But like I said, I'm feeling good. Yeah, I feel like I'm in a good place, rehab and lifting and everything like that. So we're ready to get after it and put some cleats on the grass.
How's your approach to training camp changed as you progress in your career?
mentally, you try not to let it change too much. You're still taking all the notes you can. Sorry about that. It's unprofessional. It's probably my wife yelling at me. I'm just kidding. She doesn't do that. And but it's obviously on the the physical side of things. It's taking account of the body of work that I already have in. Trying to stay as fresh for as long as possible, but still continuing to grow and make sure I get all the work I need to make sure I feel good about playing ball.
Rob, this team ended on such a high note last year. How do you sort of keep that going?
That's a tough question because it's hard to keep momentum going from team to team. Players change, coaches change. It's just the time away. It's not like you can pick up right where you left off. As much as some people say that, I personally don't believe it. But I think it's kind of understanding the feeling of what that was, about how we finished the season and how we worked at the end of that season and why we got to where we got. And obviously we wanted to go further than what we did. So, definitely keeping a little bit of that hunger, kind of in people's hearts. And that's something that, I can definitely feel around guys, and I'm sure will show in the next coming weeks. But, it is a different team, so it's obviously not back to, square one or anything like that, but it's still, how does this team work? How does this team go about their business? And we're kind of shaping more of the foundations than what we did in the spring.
The last couple of years, it was such a recurring theme about the youth of this locker room, and now those two draft classes have played a lot of football. Does this still feel like a young team to you?
I mean, I'm 33, so yes. Yes, it does, but that's a good thing, because I think even with the youth that we have, it's a very mature group. Like you said, the guys have played a lot of football. They have a lot of game experience. Some guys have, playoff experience, and all that, just helps you become a better player to fit into hopefully a better team and everything like that. But, they're still young. We are still young. They're, flying around with a lot of energy that maybe, some of the older guys kind of can't put forth, not on the field. But, it's definitely great to be around, because it kind of uplifts you and, kind of get your juice back up, because, this is a fun game to play.
Continuity seemed to be really important to this line last year. Although it is a new season, how do you kind of try to recapture some of that during camp to make sure that you guys are all on the same page to start the season?
Yeah, it's just, when we hit the ground running, it's kind of just that. I've obviously played next to KDOT for a lot of years. I have a lot of experience next to Coleman, whether he's at guard or center. Steve's been playing a lot of ball for us, and just kind of knowing how those guys think and react to certain situations just knows that we can kind of clean things up in the meeting room a little faster, because we don't have to learn how each other speak and how each other kind of think about football, think about offensive line play, think about different blocks, different schemes. All that's kind of experience, and we know what we're doing. So it's we can kind of all talk the same language a little faster, so hopefully get us back to all working together as a unit, and things like that.
Thanks, Rob.
Yep. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Man, I hope you guys are better than me, because I'm happy as heck right now.
Just trying to keep up with your energy.
That's all. That's all. You can, though. You can. Just tap in.
So, you made the decision to be here despite contract negotiations. I know you've been here participating during the offseason, but why is it important to you to be here today?
For me, there was no decision. I play football. That's what I do. That's what I love. And at the end of the day, I do this not for the money, not for the fame or the popularity, but to take care of my family. I got 3 sisters. I got a mom. I got a dad. I got 10 nieces and nephews that, I'm working hard for, so that they can one day be able to say that they can go to college. They can come to a school like this, So for me, it's a lot bigger than the contract negotiations. For me, it's putting my feet on the ground and continuing to get better and continuing to keep being who I am as a person, as a player, as an athlete, as a teammate, as a brother, as everything in my life. I'm trying to felicitate it to be the best that I can be. And so for me, being here right now is a no-brainer. I got people I got to take care of, and so putting my feet on the grass is the only way I know how to do that.
So you will be practicing?
Yes.
Did you put the trust in the agents and to work with the team to get the deal done?
Most importantly, I put the trust in God. My agent, Drew Rosenhaus, is a great agent. I was able to be signed to him since my last year of college. So for me, I trust him. I trust in the plan. I trust in what the Lord is doing right now. And so there is nothing other than just going to work, keeping my head down, continue to keep being the best teammate, the best player, the best just brother that I can be for each and every single guy on this team.
Has there been progress on the new deal?
Yeah, there's been progress. Yeah, there's definitely been progress from when we started in OTAs to where we're at now. And so I'm not sure. I don't know when it's going to get done. It's going to get done on guys' timing. So for me right now, it's just to be present where my feet are at.
Do you anticipate the deal getting done with the Rams?
Yeah, I want to play for the Rams. That's who I want to be with. That's who I want to stay with, and I know it will work out.
If it's not done before the season opener, how, if at all, does that?
Doesn't change anything. I told you my one goal is to be able to keep putting on and keep taking care of the people that I love. And so if that's played out a contract or whatever it is, it's a blessing at the end of the day. I'm still playing football. I'm still a professional athlete. I'm still doing the things that as a kid I dreamt of doing. So negotiations, all that stuff, it's all going to work out. It's all part of a plan. It's all part of a bigger plan that I have no control of. Coach McVay doesn't even have control over. Drew doesn't even have control over it. So it's just like, man, just keep on living the life that that we have right now, and stop worrying about things that you have no control over.
Sounds like you also feel responsible to your teammates, considering how good this team was last year and the potential that you guys have this year.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part to me is like seeing the squad that we have. It's like, from top to bottom, from special teams, offense to defense, like we are stacked. We got people who know who know what it is to be here as a Ram and play as a Ram. We got people who are like-minded, people that go to work, people that are playing for each other, not just for an individual. And so that's what I'm mostly excited about, bro, because we're able to get back here, and I feel like I'm in my 4th year, so I feel like I got a kind of a bird's eye view kind of. I know what to expect, and so like I'm even more excited because I know the potential of this team and how far we can go.
Sean has talked about trying to make this a more versatile offense this year. Like, what do you want to see during camp? Like, what are you looking for?
Me personally?
Together, yeah.
Me personally, put me in a slot. Hey, let me go work. Let me go work in the receiver or something. Just being able to see how each and every single individual has their own unique traits and how has Coach McVay puts it all together. We have people like Devontae, Puka, Tutu, myself, Blake, Higgs, T. Ferg, Colby. Like we got people who are playmakers, who do a lot of different things differently, but they're all good. And so I'm just excited to see how Coach does it, because he's smart. He's a genius when it comes to football. So it's going to be definitely fun to see.
Your usage last year was really high. Was that the expectation heading into that year and also heading into this year?
Yeah.
Are you going to be as much used as a blocker? You want to be as a pass catcher, obviously as a runner?
I'm going to do whatever it is my number's called. Last year I had no expectations of being able to, I guess, get the many snaps as I did. I had no idea. I didn't know that, but I was prepared for it. I worked for it throughout the years. So whatever is to come, I'm going to be prepared for it. Like I said, I worked so hard from this day on, even before this, like even after this season, I've been working every single day up to this day. So it's like, for me, I'm prepared for anything, man. I've been ready for it.
Did you change anything about how you approach the off season or your body or anything like that in terms of keeping yourself healthy?
Yeah, definitely. I'm eating better. I got a chef. I'm actually got the macros that my body needs to feel good, to feel like I'm alive and vibrant. And I wake up every single morning, thanks to the Lord, but I'm just full of energy. Like that's obviously the food. That's the food, the things I fuel myself with, but just the person I'm becoming. So, bro, it's been a great.
At the end of last season, you said you wanted to work on explosiveness and ball security. What are some of the things that you did this offseason to make that happen?
Yeah, simply just grip strength, like grip workouts. Like I'm in the weight room after my workout, I'm doing on like a little arm farm, or doing something just to continue to strengthen the grip, strengthen my fingers, strengthen everything like that, because it goes a long way. Obviously carrying the ball, but also catching the ball and taking the ball away when somebody has it. So it's that. But and running back wise, man, I've just been working, like really just working, like get your feet in the ground, exploding off the cut, like just 1 foot in the ground, exploding off the cut. It's just, you can't really work that stuff until you got to feel it. You got to be able to feel it, how your body feels when it's sinking to the ground, and how you can put your shoulders vertical, how you get all your momentum going forward and not to the side or to the left. So it's just really a feel, a lot of core work, a lot of just, it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work that you just got to do,
You had a couple more camps this summer.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was amazing. It was amazing because that was my second time doing a youth football camp, out in Los Angeles. So for me, because I'm not from Los Angeles, but to see how many people still came out and to see like the parents and the grandparents and the fathers and the cousins, whoever were able to bring their kids out there to be able to, spend a day with me. It was awesome. It was a blessing because despite of all the stuff that was going on behind us with the protests and whatnot, we were right here on this field doing and having fun. Not focused on the outside world, but just continuing just to uplift each other in the game of football and just being able to be there with each other. So to me, it was amazing.
Awesome.
Appreciate you guys.
It's been great.
What were you working on, focusing on to get ready for the year?
I really focused on a lot on my body. I took on a new, hobby now. Doing Pilates, getting more leaner, loosening up my hips and my knees, getting them a lot stronger to prevent injuries. But that's kind of what I was focused on and my technique.
How do you feel the Pilates when you're doing like a field work?
How do I feel about it?
Like, do you feel a difference with your body when you're doing like field work?
Oh, definitely. I feel a lot. Just breathing and everything. Like I said, I'm feeling a lot more leaner. So on the field, I don't get as gassy, tire-wise. In my form and my technique, every time I'm in like position, I could be in it for a longer period of time. Stability with my knees. When I'm in my stance, it's like a lot easier, a lot smoother. Especially bending around the corners. I seen that during OTAs and everything I was doing. So I seen the improvement and everything.
So you said you just started that this off season?
Yes, man. I started this beginning of February. I've been doing it ever since now. Getting in started at two times a week now, 3 to 4 days out the week. First time I did it was a challenge. Then I seen the improvement, and someone just told me that, this is something that I want and it's something I need. So, I continue to do it, feeling a lot better and feel like I'm looking better too. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did anything surprise you about it when you first started?
Yes.
In terms of the difficulty?
Yeah, it was really difficult. So when I first did the first day, I remember I was like, she's trying to kill me. And I was like shaking really bad and I was kind of embarrassed at first, 'cause I'm a competitor and just struggling at something and being a professional athlete. I'm not used to that. So something my dad told me is if it's something that, you're nervous about struggling on and you need it, I feel like you should attack it. Don't do everything you're good at. You got to do stuff that you're not good at. So ever since then, I don't know, it was just every day it was just something in my head that just told me that, you got to go get it. So every day I was doing it. And the weird thing about it really don't get easier. It's just like you just understand, this is what it takes. So.
Is this something you can continue with during the season?
Oh, for sure. Not as much, sessions, but I say I'm getting at least once a week. Try to get it on my off day. So.
Do you think Verse could do it?
Oh, yeah, he could do it. Verse could do it.
What have you learned kind of having gone through camp a couple times now, going into this one, in terms of getting ready for the season? For you personally, that you need to do or not do?
Just more about patience over the years and just being from my first one to this one and going to my year 3. First year, I feel like I was in a rush to get everything right and be perfect, and learning from that and then going into my second camp and, kind of improve from that. But, just remembering, everything not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes, and that's the only way you can grow from it. So that's kind of what I take away from the last 2 years.
You guys as a defensive front and in particular pass rush, remember about learning about playing alongside one another during training camp last year, and how is that influencing how you guys are going to approach training camp this year?
We just learn about each other with communication, knowing each other's tendencies and, what we good at, knowing when to offer, one another. So we try to stay in touch and stay intact with that. Like I said, communication is the biggest thing and just knowing each other, knowing, when to offer Kobe Fiske or Verse, and, try to take advantage of those because when, Verse at his best, I'm at my best. When I'm at my best, Kobe at his best, and Fiske at his best, Verse at his best. So it's like it goes hands in hand. So we try to look out for each other, but we brothers.
Do you guys spend time together in the off-season as well?
Time together a little bit, yeah. Me and Verse went to a wedding a few weeks ago and stuff. But yeah, it was fun. We spent some time in Hawaii, did some things. It was pretty fun. It's good to hang out with them guys.
Rams have had a good amount of success in your first 2 seasons. Won the division last year, played 2 playoff games. What do you think the goal should be for this team since a lot of that group's coming back?
The goal always is to go further and, reach the Super Bowl. But, as of now, we're taking one day at a time, starting the day with first day of training camp until we get to our first preseason game, then our first, regular season game. So every day we're just taking a step. Not trying to look over everything, but that's definitely the main goal is to get to the Super Bowl.
Has there been a difference in Christian's approach to this offseason compared to last year?
I'd say the difference is
having design plays for certain players and knowing, you know, that type of player for that play. So I say at the beginning, I say it was more so like he trying to fill out, but then he kind of like leaned toward like, okay, this player right here is good for this player, and this is how he plays. So he tried to do that for the, you know, sake of the defense. So he definitely tried to design certain plays for certain players that could take advantage of that, I say. Thank you.
We're excited to get going. Coaches reported yesterday, just kind of getting all of our ducks in a row, and then our players are starting to get in here this morning, and it's exciting. You know, I thought we had a really good off-season program, and now really the work starts, and I think it's going to be important for us to stack days. A couple things that I did want to be able to touch on before I open it up for questions. With A.J. Jackson, that's obviously been a unique situation. What I think's been great that we've been able to learn is we do have a plan in place that we're confident in, that most importantly he feels good about, that hopefully leads to him, you know, being on the field for us. But we are going to take it a day at a time. He's not going to be on a PUP or NFI list. What he'll be able to do in the meantime is some individual drills with Reggie and his group. Some of that we'll do with coaches, some of the jog-throughs. The actual physical stuff he will not partake in right now. And we'll just take it a day at a time, you know, with something of this nature. But I do feel good about the plan we have in place that, you know, hopefully leads to him being able to go out there and compete with his teammates. And I know he is really feeling good. He's handled this like a total stud. And I think the perspective that this stuff gives you, you know, where, you know, it's always about the human being first and foremost, but he's got a lot of people that love him that are with him on this journey, and we're excited to be able to just take it a day at a time with him. The other thing that you guys will notice, Matthew's feeling good. He had a little bit of soreness in his back that kind of crept up when he's been throwing, feeling good. It's not anything that's necessarily new, something that he's dealt with before. Going into year 17, we were going to take a modified approach with him, kind of similar to what we did in the off-season program, and so we'll allow him to just work kind of off to the side on his own, get himself feeling as good as possible, and then he'll be ready for block 2, which will really represent once we finish the 5-day acclimation period. He feels good about that. I feel good about that, and ultimately it's about having him feel as good as possible mentally, physically, emotionally, going into year 17, and then that's where you do feel fortunate that, you know, you got a guy like Jimmy that will step in and do a great job for the first few practices, and then Matthew will be ready to roll.
How long will he not be working on the field?
Just that first block is what we anticipate. So really, you know, the 5-day acclimation period starts today, represents day 1, and then we'll have, you know, 2 days of practice. We'll have a jog through, then a practice, then kind of a deloaded day, and then a practice on what will represent the 5th day. And then after that, you know, projection-wise, feeling good about him returning.
How much of a concern is that? I know you sound like he'll get through it.
Yep.
Fine, but to have your quarterback going through training,
you know, if he was a first-year player, you know, then I think you'd say, man, every rep really matters. I think the important thing is having a big picture perspective with a guy going into year 17. Being something that he's had before and dealt with, you know, throughout different parts of his career. You know, he's so in tune with his body, and talking with him, I feel really good. And I think that's why you want to be as careful and cautious as possible, because of the importance of him feeling good. And these are things that I don't believe it's going to affect his ability to be ready to roll. We've got a lot of time. But had he not already had as much experience as he has, maybe it'd allow, you know, maybe I'd feel a little bit differently. But because of his ability to communicate to me, to Reggie, do feel confident. And I think this is most importantly the right thing for him and for our football team.
How valuable did those OTAs periods then become, especially working with Devontae?
I didn't hear the first part. Go ahead.
How valuable did those OTAs periods become
Yeah.
with him throwing in that phase?
It's really important, you know, and I think there still can be a lot of dialogue and communication. You know, he's going to be there in all the meetings and different things like that. But I thought they were able to really set a good foundation. And that's not exclusive to Devontae, but really just, you know, our group of skill players in general, and even some of the dialogue that's necessary between he and the offensive line. So it'll be good, but we've got some time to be able to make up some ground. And I think the important thing for us is let's stack days and be present and do the things that we can control. And I think we'll be, you know, I think we'll be able to do that.
You said you're going to take it 1 day at a time with Howard.
Yep.
Is it on the table that he starts the season?
Yeah, you know, I'm not going to rule anything out. What I also don't want to do, and hopefully you can understand this, is set expectations on something that we are in the process of learning. We have a plan in place that if things go according to plan, feel like that is a very real possibility. But again, this is the first time that I've navigated through anything like this with a player. You start to realize there's a lot of guys that have been able to, be in great situations, even though they've had to overcome, some similar issues. Trey Smith is a really cool story to look at, what he's been able to do. And so the answer is we're hopeful and optimistic, but what I don't want to do is set expectations when there's, a lot of things that could happen. But taking it a day at a time, I think, is going to be the right approach for all of us, from a mental perspective and physically for Alaric.
You mentioned for Matthew that there was already a modified approach
Yep.
to him entering camp. Like, what is that overall going to look like once he returns?
That would probably represent something along the lines of, if you look at our 4-day blocks, one of those 4 days, he would be off. And we'll do that with a couple other veteran players. As you look at the totality of the amount of work that we'll get in, and really when you are saying, hey, it's as important as anything to get as healthy and ready to go for week 1 as we possibly can. Some of those guys that have a lot more experience, that's where you're balancing that. Hey, you got to work. I think growth does demand a discomfort in terms of, setting those right calluses, but not being unnecessarily, pushing the envelope from a sports performance perspective where, guys feel worn down before you've even played one of these 17 that you're guaranteed. But one of the 4 days, to answer your question. Sorry for all the unnecessary BS there.
Sean, does your message change from year to year when you get to this day with the players?
Yeah, you know what I would say, Maria? I think there's a consistency of values and principles, and I do think it's important for us to, evolve, adapt, and say what's specific and what do we feel like this group. But there are some consistent things that, I was just walking over here with Artis. I can't believe going into year 9, year 23 for Artis. How about that? Isn't that awesome? But the answer is there's some consistent values and principles, but some of the things in terms of what we've learned, good and bad over the last 8 years, you absolutely try to apply. But the answer is yes, it does change, but there still is some similar things that you say, that feels similar to last year, and I think you want to be consistent in that.
I think this is the first time in your time here that you've had continuity and carryover at offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and special teams coordinator.
What the hell? I don't know what to do with myself.
What does having that continuity and stability do, and what does it allow you to do in terms of teaching and preparation?
I think it's huge. I think the most important thing is being able to, delegate and give people autonomy and authority over things that they're capable of handling. And, you want to make sure that you're there to be an ear, to be able to, provide some vision or perspective if necessary. But, with Mike, with Chris, with Chase, there's a lot of trust. And that goes for the other coaches that are working on those sides of the ball as well. I think what's been really cool is the amount of turnover that we have had. I think we've gotten better at identifying the kinds of people that thrive in these atmospheres and environments that we want to cultivate. And the people are what it's all about, but it's a great thing. And, I think as you're continuing to learn how you grow, how you can be better, how you can positively impact people, it's nice to feel like in a lot of instances, stepping back provides the clarity and then also gives the trust that has been earned by a lot of these guys to go do their thing, and then you can be there whenever is necessary, without, diluting things.
What is it like, you mentioned your 9th season, it's crazy that it's already started your 9th season.
I know, right?
What is that like now versus what it was when your first camp?
Well, I think the first thing is there's a lot of learning. I think you're growing and maturing as a man, and that's continuously going on. But things in my life have changed in the better ways. You learn from your mistakes, how you deal with people. I think you become more empathetic, have more of a heart for people. Having my wife, having a son, it's awesome to be able to have my dad around. My parents were in town this week, and then my dad's around practice. We always joke, if you didn't know any better, you'd think that's Stan Kroenke because he walks around like he owns the team. And but it's awesome. I think it's a blessing, and a lot of the things where the mistakes have occurred, I think, are where there's been some of the most gratifying moments that come from it, even though in those times you're like, man, it sure doesn't feel like there's anything good that's going to come of it. But I feel really fortunate, to be in a position where I think you're enjoying it even more. I think you have a healthier perspective without being any less competitive and crazy. That's not been a bad thing sometimes too.
We talked to Kyren.
He's not holding out. He's not holding in. He's going to be on the grass for day one. How important is that? Not only for continuity of the offense, but also because you have one of your starters, one of your top guys around. If Matthew's going to miss,
it's huge, Greg. I mean, he's handled himself like the guy that you guys know. I mean, that's just who he is. And we're going to sit down with Drew tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And there has been, you say these things all the time, and, the ultimate goal in mind is for him to get under contract. And finding that sweet spot that fits for that puzzle that we're trying to piece together as a team and what represents his value for the production and what he means to us, those can sometimes be challenging things. But I think there's been a good, healthy, collaborative approach. We have gotten closer, haven't gotten the deal over the finish line, obviously, and he has done everything that he can control that makes you want to say, let's try in good faith to figure this out for this guy, because he's representing all the things that are right about the Rams. And the way he plays, his spirit, his mindset, what he is as a teammate, how he responds to adversity, the physical and mental toughness. And so it means a lot, Greg, and I love this guy and love what he stands for and what he's about, most importantly as a man.
Sean, go ahead. He said he anticipates getting a deal done.
I'm hopeful for that. What I don't want to do, there's, even just talking with Drew and Matthew Sharon yesterday, there's some things that, where we're at and where they're at, that we've got to be able to bridge a gap for that to be able to get over the finish line. But based on, where we are now compared to where we were, there has been, a progressive, approach towards that finish line. But, I don't want to say anything. I'm hopeful that's the goal. Whether or not that ends up getting done, we'll see. And you guys will find out, I'm sure, as soon as it does, if that's the case.
Sean, when you go through a year with a veteran like Jimmy as your backup, and then you're also planning for best case scenarios, you get to rest Matthew at the end of the season before playoffs, or in a case like this, you're planning in advance to modify his training camp. How do you notice Jimmy's approach as a backup who also knows he'll need to spot start in best case scenarios or in modified workout scenarios? How does his approach work? What's his process? How does that change from like a typical backup?
Well, what I think's great is it doesn't. What I've noticed from him is consistency, steadiness. There's a lot of confidence that I think's been earned. He's going into year 12. Sometimes people forget how much experience he's accumulated. And he's just got this great vibe about himself that whether it's leading the scout team or whether that's stepping in and, leading the offense if we're giving Matthew a day off, I think going back to Gary's point, consistency would be the answer. But this is a guy that even though he's in that role here, he knows what he is and where he stands in the pecking order, where there's no doubt in my mind he's one of the, he's a real quarterback. And I've got a lot of belief in him, and I feel really fortunate that we've got Matthew and then somebody, as unique as Jimmy, that these situations with Matthew, I'm circling back with kind of what you asked earlier, Gary, don't worry about Matthew because of his experience. And I also know that, Matthew is so unique and special. But when you have a quality player like Jimmy that can step in, now you don't feel like the team is totally punished either. And that's a big deal to me, that allows a freedom to be best for Matthew because you don't feel like you're punishing the team. Whereas, we've been in some situations and scenarios where the drop-off is so drastic and so significant that now it's hurting our ability to move forward like what we want to be able to do. And by no means am I saying that, we know how special Matthew is, but it's a blessing to have a player like Jimmy to be able to come in and he'll do an excellent job. And there is, there's a lot of confidence that his teammates have in him. And it's really cool to watch the reverence and respect he has for Matthew and their relationship, and even, watching Matthew mentor both of those guys and Stetson. It's a special quarterback room, and Matthew leads the way, but Jimmy's, I'm really glad that he came back.
A couple more guys. After he got signed, and he seemed like he had some interest elsewhere, potentially with a quicker track to getting back into like the big seat, but he just seemed like he was happy. Is there something to be said for being happy and sort of not having an ego at a certain point in your career as a quarterback?
Hell yeah. I think he's really at peace. I think he's had some different experiences where maybe your priorities shift. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a starting quarterback in this league, and he will be again at some point. But I think when you are truly secure in yourself and you're able to make decisions that are best for your fulfillment in life and kind of where you're at, man, that's a pretty cool thing. And it sure meant a lot to us that there was multiple examples of players that showed they wanted to be here by the decisions, and it wasn't exclusive to money. And don't get me wrong, the financial part is a huge part of this thing, but guys that there was a handful of examples of guys that took a little bit less to continue to be here, and I can't tell you how much that means to us, and why you want to continuously strive to create and cultivate an environment that people want to be a part of, where, hey, there's that sense of urgency, and I like coming to work. And I feel like I'm getting pushed, and it's not easy, but it's worthwhile, and I'm doing it with people that move me, help me become who I want to be, and Jimmy does that for his teammates, he does that for his coaches, and hopefully we do that same thing for him.
Sean, I know you changed the we not me to we then me. What made you want to officially, make that change, and how do you feel like that's going to materialize in your coaching?
It's one of the things that Maria was asking about. I got too much time to think about stuff that, but I think, when you talk about, the words meaning something, we've always talked about football is the greatest team sport that there is, and it is about the team first, and the we matters a whole hell of a lot, and it comes first, but man, the me matters a whole lot as well. It's not me. It is, it's we and me, or we then me, but it subconsciously communicates that it is about the team, but, what is your role and responsibility as a teammate? What do we want that to be about? What are those values and principles that we want to subscribe to that's authentic to guys' personalities? And then what is my individual responsibility within the framework of, hey, my mindset, my energy, how I move, my 1/11th on each snap if I'm out there on the field competing. And so I think it's just, having the words mean something, and continuously being able to say, hey, how do you adjust, adapt, how do you make things better? And all the stuff that we talk about is a collaboration, with our players, with our coaches. A lot of these things come exposed to some special people that have done it the right way, and we'll never shy away from the fact that we're always trying to push the envelope and move forward, and try to do things and message things in a manner that's reflective of what we want to be about, to be the best people we can be.
We talked a lot the last two camps about the roster.
Yeah.
Those two classes have now played a lot of football. Does this still feel like a young football team?
It does, in a good way, and we've got some guys that are veteran laden. We're older on the offensive side of the ball. With some of our guys that have been here for a while. When you look at Higbee going into year 10, Havenstein year 11, Matthew year 17, Jimmy and Devontae going into year 12, DJ Humphreys, who we signed, is going into year 12 as well, and then our most veteran laden player on defense is Akella Witherspoon going into year 9. So yes, but I think it's a good mix of some guys that have accumulated some experience, but these guys that are still young in age. I think that experience accelerates, your mindset, your mentality. But I love the natural zest and the joy that this group has. I don't want us to lose that at all. We're not going to allow expectations to get in the way of our ability to go swing and compete and try to stack days every single day. And it does feel like a youthful energy that we have, and I even feel that from some of our players. You watch the way Matthew Stafford's running around in the offseason and how he feels and his vibe. So even some of these guys that are older by age, they feel young. Some of the cool comments that Devontae made, that's what it's about. And so it feels like a young team in a good way. But these guys have accumulated some cool experience over the last couple of years that I think will serve them well.
Just for point of clarity, do you anticipate Matthew being ready for the start?
I do. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that I was at least kind of filling you guys in, mainly so you don't just bury me with questions after the first day when you see him out there. But it is something that, in all seriousness, feel really good. And I think this is the smartest approach, knowing that he's got that experience accumulated. This is what's the right thing based on having dealt with some similar things in previous years. And those prescriptions or those approaches have served him well, and that's why you feel confident that he'll be ready to go and block two, and that'll be exactly how we approach it. Okay?
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
All right. See y'all.